So in order to access the public cloud, you need to have internet. Without internet, you can't access the services or resources in the public cloud. We discussed earlier what are the resources like servers, storages, switches, routers, everything. So AWS, Azure, GCP are the examples for public cloud. With a public cloud, all hardware, software, and other supporting infrastructure is owned and managed by the cloud provider. Everything is managed by the cloud provider. You don't have anything physical access. You don't have anything physical access. You have physical access only Windows, laptop or desktop. You can access these servers and manage your account by using web browser. I told you API. API stands Application Program Interface, which is called as a web graphical mode, and CLI. CLI stands Command Line Interface. Private cloud. Private cloud refers to the cloud computing resources exclusive by a single business or organization. So IBM, they have their own private cloud and public cloud. Every company, they have their own private and public cloud. Tomorrow, you apply for the home loan or car loan. Your personal details like your Aadhaar card, your mobile number, your home address, your personal details always stored in a private cloud. Remaining information will be stored in the public cloud. What is the tenure of your EMIs and how much amount is sanctioned for you? What is the monthly EMI? That information will be stored in the public. So every user information, there is a private information and public information. Private information will be stored in a private cloud. Public information will be stored in a public cloud. So there is no company without private and public. A private cloud can be physically located on a company site, on-site premises data center. Hybrid cloud. It's a combination of public and private, bonds together by technology that allows data and application to be shared between them. That is called hybrid. We can move the data or application from private to public or public to private. So hybrid cloud gives our business greater flexibility with more deployment options. Every MNC company, they have their own private and public. The combination of private and public we call as a hybrid. This is the example for hybrid. One, your database server. Database server we never configured on public. Database always in a private cloud. The database can be MySQL database, Oracle database. Nowadays, MySQL is more famous. MongoDB, MySQL, Cassandra, all these are databases. And your application is Tomcat. Tomcat is application server. WebLogic, WebSphere, all this comes under application server. Your application server is on internet. How to your database? Through application server. Yesterday we discussed about 3-tier architecture. One front end, one middleware, one backend. Middleware is our application, backend is our database. In order to connect to this application server with database server, private and public, we have a services AWS direct connection, AWS site-to-site connection, AWS transit gateway. We'll see these services in AWS. So your app servers, DB servers, as I told you that every user will have some piece of information is private, some piece of information is public. Whenever we are storing some information, I need a database. So whatever private information that will be stored in a private cloud, database in the private cloud, whatever the public information that will be stored in a public cloud. There is a database in the public cloud. This is the combination of hybrid. Every financial companies or every MNC company, they're going to use hybrid cloud because all your user information contains both public and private. So this is called hybrid cloud. Multi-cloud. Multi-cloud is a strategy where an organization leverages two or more computing platforms. Like some organizations do not depend on a single cloud provider. If I have a company, I'm using AWS, only AWS. That is called a single cloud provider. So most of the companies, they're going to use multi-cloud providers like AWS, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud. Tomorrow you got a job in IBM as AWS Cloud. You see the Azure Cloud Admin, GCP Cloud Admin. Every MNC company, they have all three: AWS, Amazon, and Google. AWS is the first place, more demand. Second place, Microsoft Azure. Third place, GCP. So I can teach all these three: AWS, Azure, and GCP. Okay. So this is called multi-cloud. Cloud service models. Infrastructure as a service. Platform as a service. And software as a service. These are comes under cloud service models. So I told you there are two types of data centers: on-premises data center and cloud data center. Let us come to on-premises data center. You want to start a data center, physical data center. Then I need networking like switches, routers, storages, SAN storage, NAS storage. SAN, NAS comes under storages. Virtualization. We have two types of virtualization. One is VMware. The other one is Oracle virtualization. Any virtualization software. Then operating system, either Windows or Linux. Then middleware, runtime software, data, and application. All these are maintained by yourself. You are the responsible for everything. That is on-premises data center. You need a network admin team, network team. You need a storage team. You need a virtualization team, operating system team, middleware, runtime. You are the responsible for all the teams. You are the responsible for all this infrastructure. Everything is owned by you. Everything is owned by you. When you come into the infrastructure as a service, your applications, storage, server, virtualization, networking, these are managed by the service provider, either AWS or Azure. They're going to provide the hardware. You want to install the operating system? I need a server. You want to store the data? I need a storage. You want to configure network? I need a switches and routers. And the virtualization. So everything is managed by the service provider. You just ask the AWS cloud, and I'm going for a infrastructure as a service. They're going to provide all this stuff. Your job is install the operating system, install the middleware software, runtime, data, and application. All these are managed by you. All these are managed by you. This is called infrastructure as a service. So you need a operating system team, middleware team, runtime, database team, application team. Remaining all the hardware infrastructure managed by the your cloud service provider. So this is called infrastructure as a service. Platform as a service. In platform, yeah. Example అంటే suppose you are the you don't have any what hardware you want to purchase. You don't know what storage you want to purchase. You don't know what virtualization software you want to use. You don't know what is this networking. You are just you know how to install the operating system, how to install the software applications. Then we are going to ask the service provider, I'm going for infrastructure as a service. They're going to provide only this much. Operating system you have to install manually. Take the server from the cloud. Apart from the server, there will be the networking. That will be configured network. A storage by default configured to the server. Your job is install the operating system, middleware, runtime. That's it. This is called infrastructure. They're going to provide only the infrastructure. Otherwise, what happens? I have to take a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, or a premises. I have to purchase the storages. I have to purchase the server. I have to purchase networking storage like the switches and routers. It is very expensive, right? Why should I purchase the hardware? Why should I go for purchasing the hardware? This hardware is going to provide by your service provider. So take the hardware from the service provider. You just install the operating system and applications. This is called infrastructure as a service because hardware is very, very expensive. Purchasing servers, storages, switches, routers, purchasing the hardware is very, very expensive. So I don't want to go for a purchasing the hardware. So I'll take this hardware from the cloud service provider. They're going to charge for this hourly based. As we discussed, even if I take this server for 3 months or 1 month, we are going to pay only whatever we are consuming. If I use this server for 1 hour, I'm going to pay only for 1 hour. So all this infrastructure we are taking from the service provider. This is called infrastructure as a service. Platform as a service. In platform as a service, networking, storage, virtualization, middleware, runtime. Everything is maintained by the cloud service provider. Your job is deploy your application and database. Deploy your application database. Even operating system, middleware, runtime, everything is managed by the service provider. You need not worry about how to install the operating system. You need not worry about how to install this middleware software. You need not worry about the runtime software. Your responsibility only your application and database. This is called platform. You want to deploy your application, I need a platform. What platform need? I need an operating system. But without operating system, without a server, I can't install the operating system. So we need a server, our storages. So all this stuff maintained by the service provider. Your job is only deploy your application and database. This is called platform as a service. So tomorrow in AWS, we'll see that how to launch Linux server. When I launch Linux server, they're going to provide you storage, they're going to provide you networking, they're going to provide you operating system. Your job is only deploy your application. So throughout AWS course, we are going for platform as a service. We are not using infrastructure as a service. In infrastructure as a service, they are going to provide only the hardware. they're not going to provide the platform, means no operating system. So throughout AWS, we are going to see practically only platform as a service. Everything is maintained, everything is powered by the cloud service provider. You are the DevOps engineer. You are the DevOps engineer, for example. You know how to deploy the application, but I don't know how to install the operating system. I don't know how to configure virtualization. I don't know how to configure storage. I don't know how to configure network. Then, as a DevOps engineer, we request the cloud admin, I need a platform as a service. So the cloud admin, they're going to provide the platform. What operating system you want, what middleware software you want. So they're going to provide a platform to the DevOps engineer. So this DevOps engineer, they're going to deploy their application. So you want to learn DevOps, need to have a knowledge on AWS as well. So this is called platform as a service. Here, I am not maintaining any storage team, network team, operating system team, middleware team. I am maintaining only developers and database administrator. Only two teams, application team and database team. This is called platform as a service. Software as a service. In software as a service, everything is maintained by and managed by service provider. Everything maintained and managed by the service provider. Example for software as a service. Tomorrow, if I float a company, the company required mail ID info@durgasoft.com. Info@durgasoft.com. That means what? I have to purchase a domain name. Purchase a domain name and configure a website for that. Purchase a domain, configure a website. It will take some time. It is not 1 day job, 2 day job. It may take 15 days to 1 month. What I'll do is, I'll go to gmail.com. I'll register one Gmail account. Info@ like durgasoft@gmail.com. durgasoft@gmail.com. That means what? I'm not maintaining any server. I did not any install operating system. I did not configure mail server. To configure mail server, we need to install the mail server software. I did not deploy any application. Everything is powered by the Gmail. Everything is maintained by powered by the Gmail. Your job is only create the account and you can use that as a mail server. That is called software as a service. So what are the resources or services you are using on internet? Like Facebook, YouTube, all these are software as a service. Everything is maintained by the cloud vendor. You are the layman. You don't know what is this networking, what is operating system, what is middleware, what is runtime. Then we'll go for software as a service. So in the real time, which we are going to use, that depends upon the client requirement. Depends on the client requirement. The client says that I'm going to maintain my operating system. I have operating system team. I have a database team. I have application team. But I'm not going to purchase the hardware infrastructure. This infrastructure I'm going to take from the service provider. Then we'll go for a infrastructure as a service. All the infrastructure maintained by the cloud service provider. Is the client asking that I have only application team and database team? Then we'll go for platform as a service. Platform means what? Not only the infrastructure, they're going to provide operating system, middleware, runtime software. Your job is only deploy your application and database. Remaining everything is maintained by the managed by the service provider. Tomorrow, you are the software developer. You develop some application like Ola app, something like Ola app, or something like Swiggy, Zomato, food app. You want to deploy your application. Then I'll go for software as a service. I don't know how to configure middleware. I don't know how to install operating system. I don't want to purchase any server. If I purchase the server, only one server is not enough. I told you that at least we require two servers for load balancer. If one server goes down, the application automatically switches to another server. So I have to purchase two physical servers. I have to purchase the storage. I have to configure load balancer. For this, I have to maintain the network team, database team, OS team, storage team. It's very expensive, right? Then I'll go for software as a service. Everything is provided by the cloud service provider. You just deploy your application and manage that. That is called software as a service. So that depends upon the client requirement. So physical infrastructure required networking like routers, firewall, load balancers, switches, all this comes under networking. And storage. Storage, there are two types, block level storage, object level storage. What is block level? What is object level? Going forward, we'll discuss. Servers. Servers like IBM, HP, Dell, all these are companies provide servers. Virtualization, VMware, Oracle, Citrix, all these are vendors for virtualization. Operating systems are Windows or Linux. Windows or Linux. I'll tell you later the difference between Windows and Linux. Next, middleware. Tomcat, WebLogic, JBoss, WebSphere comes under middleware. Database like Oracle, MySQL, MongoDB, all these are comes under database. Runtime software application. This is about physical infrastructure. Whatever we discuss in this physical infrastructure, the same infrastructure maintained by the cloud service provider. No difference. No difference. The only difference is if I go for physical data center, everything is owned by you, everything is managed by you, everything we can see physically. These servers are physically available. We can go there, we can see that. If it is cloud, everything is a virtual. We don't have anything physical access. Everything you're going to access from remote only. So nothing is physical if you go for a cloud. That is the only difference. Now, come to the virtualization software. Generally, virtualization they introduced 2009, 2010. Before 2009, there was no virtualization. When there was no virtualization, let us assume that I want to practice Windows and Linux. You want to practice Windows and Linux. Then I need to purchase 2 servers or 2 laptops or 2 desktops, one laptop for Windows and the laptop for Linux. Purchase 2 laptops or desktops. Assume that each laptop costs 50,000. I have to invest 1 lakh rupees. Invest 1 lakh rupees to practice Windows and Linux. It is very expensive. What we can do is purchase only 1 laptop or desktop. You have a hard disk. You have a hard disk of 500 GB. You have a hard disk of 500 GB. This is my hard disk, 500 GB. Make 2 physical partitions. Make 2 physical partitions. In the first physical partition, install Windows operating system. In the second physical partition, install Linux operating system. Meaning, in a single laptop or a single desktop, I can install both the operating system, Windows and Linux. Rather than purchasing new laptop or desktop, in one laptop, in one hard disk, I can install both the operating systems, Windows and Linux. While booting, provides interface asking that, do you want to boot from Red Hat Linux or do you want to boot from Windows? In the earlier days, when there was no virtualization, we used to use this concept. 10 years back, I used to take Windows administration, Linux administration both. So I can't purchase 2 laptops or 2 desktops. So 10 years back, there was no laptop. We used to use only desktops. Instead of 2 desktops, 1 desktop only. By installing 2 operating systems in a single desktop, whenever I'm taking Windows class, I'll boot from Windows. Whenever I'm taking Linux class, I'll boot from Linux. So physically only one server. Acting as a 2 servers. As an end user, what you feel that I have 2 laptops or desktops. So this is also called as a virtualization. What is the meaning of virtualization? Physically only one, but acting as a 2. That is called virtualization. What type of virtualization? Traditional virtualization. When there was no VMware software, earlier days, we used to use traditional virtualization. It is like example, in the earlier days, there was no smart mobile. We used to use basic mobile. In basic mobile, we don't have dual SIM option. What is the problem? I want to use the 2 numbers. I have to purchase 2 mobiles. You have to carry these 2 mobiles everywhere. But instead of that, purchase the smart mobile. You have dual SIM option. So what is the advantage? Physically only one mobile, acting as a 2 mobiles. If you have 2 numbers, what you feel that I'm using 2 mobiles, but physically only one mobile. That is called traditional virtualization. Instead of carrying the 2 mobiles, carry only one mobile. What is the disadvantage of dual SIM? Anyone? What is the disadvantage of dual SIM? Advantages we discussed. What is the disadvantage? Both the numbers cannot be active at a time. You can't call both the numbers at a time, or you can't receive the calls for both the numbers at a time. Only one number will be active. Similarly, you can't boot both the operating system at a time. If I'm in Windows, I can't able to see the Linux. If I'm in Linux, I can't able to see the Windows. So both operating system cannot be active. We can't run both operating systems simultaneously at a time. This is the problem with the traditional virtualization. One more disadvantage. I have a laptop of 16 GB. Assume that I have 16 GB laptop and one CPU. Suppose you purchase a laptop with 60,000, 70,000 with 16 GB RAM, 30 GB RAM. If you are not going for traditional virtualization, or if you say, for example, I install Windows and Linux in the same laptop. When I'm booting Windows, am I using 16 GB RAM? No, right? Max, I'm using 2 GB RAM. 2 GB also, 2 GB also very rare, unless we install Java or database. That time we are going to use 2 GB. Otherwise, max 1 GB. Max 1 GB. Remaining 15 GB is wasted. I reboot the Windows and boot from Linux. Again, when I'm booting from Linux and use the Linux operating system, again I'm using only 1 GB RAM. I'm not using entire 16 GB. Wastage of the hardware resources. Then what is the need of purchasing the 16 GB RAM? 2 GB, 4 GB is more than enough. These are the problems with the traditional virtualization. That's why in 2009, there's a company called VMware. They developed two softwares. One is Workstation. The other one is Server. Workstation and Server. Like in Microsoft, you know that in Microsoft we have two operating systems. One is client OS. The other one is server OS. Clients are Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10. All these are client OS. Server OS are Windows 2012, 2012, Windows 2016, 2016, Windows 2019, 2019. All these are server operating systems. Microsoft has been classified as two types, client OS and server OS. Most of the people, they know only client OS. Very few people know the server operating systems. A laptop, desktops always install the client OS. What is the difference between client and server? Client is a single user. Client is a single user. What is the meaning of single user? Only one user can log in at a time. In a laptop, you can log in only one user at a time. That is called single user. When you go to ATM, all the ATM machines are single user. We can insert only one ATM card at a time. Whereas server is a multi-user. Example, gmail.com, yahoo.com, Facebook, all these are server operating system. Multiple users can log into the Gmail at a time, Yahoo, Facebook, because those are all server operating system. All those applications, Gmail, Facebook, YouTube, all these are applications. These applications cannot be deployed on client OS because client is a single user. It needs a multi-user. That's why all these other applications are deployed on server OS. So there is a difference between client and server. Tomorrow, when you log into the AWS and launching the service, all those are server operating systems. In AWS, no client OS, everything is a server. Similarly, VMware introduced two software. One is called Workstation, nothing but a client. The other one is called server. This server, we call it as ESXi. ESXi, nothing but server operating system. So what is the difference between workstation and server? First, we'll talk about workstation. This is my hardware. A laptop is a hardware. Desktop is a hardware. On top of this, on top of the hardware, I'm going to install the operating system. On top of the operating system, install VMware software. Your hardware, like laptop, desktops are hardware. On top of that, install operating system, Windows. On top of the Windows operating system, install VMware workstation software. So virtualization is a very, very important topic in cloud. Not only AWS, any cloud, all the cloud service providers, they are using this virtualization software. So you need to understand how it works. On top of the Windows, we are going to install VMware Workstation. For instance, you want to install the operating system, or you want to deploy an application. That application required operating system, either Windows or Linux. That operating system required a server, physical server. Means what is the server? Server contains hardware. What kind of hardware we required? I need a processor. That is called RAM. Processor means CPU, RAM, hard disk, network card, monitor, keyboard, mouse, motherboard. This is the hardware I required to install the operating system. So laptop contains this hardware. So I install Windows here in this hardware. Tomorrow I want to install Linux. Again I have to purchase a laptop with this hardware. Instead of that, whatever hardware we have, whatever physical hardware we have in a laptop, this physical hardware we are going to virtualize. Means what? Virtual processor, virtual RAM, virtual disk, virtual network card, virtual monitor, virtual keyboard, virtual mouse, virtual motherboard, virtual SMPS. Whatever physically we have in a laptop, everything we are going to create a virtual. How it is possible? With the help of this VMware workstation. Now, I'll make one VM. VM stands virtual machine. Why it is called virtual machine? Whatever hardware we have, everything is a virtual. So my VM is ready here. So this is called virtual hardware. Virtual machine. Why it is called virtual machine? Everything is a virtual hardware. I can't create a virtual hardware without a physical hardware. Without a network card, physically in a laptop, I can't create a virtual network card. Without a keyboard physically in a laptop, I can't create a virtual keyboard. So whenever we say virtual, there must be a physical available in your laptop. So here, I'm going to install the Windows operating system. Not the client. Client already we have in your laptop physically installed. I'm going to install Windows 2012 server operating system. Similarly, I'll create another virtual machine, install Windows 2016, Windows 2019. Like this, I can create number of virtual machines. Or I can install one VM Red Hat Linux, another VM CentOS, another VM Ubuntu Linux. Like that, I can create a number of virtual machines. So this is called VMware Workstation. See, I have one laptop with 16 GB RAM. How many VMs are created? More than 10. So this VM having hardware. What this hardware we call virtual hardware. For this VM allocated 4 GB, 2 processor, 2 CPUs. For this VM, 2 GB is allocated, 2 processors. For this VM, 4 GB is allocated. So there is no wastage of your hardware. There is no wastage of your hardware resources. You have 16 GB RAM, allocate 2 GB, 2 GB, 2 GB. But all these are DevOps tools. For this Jenkins server, it needs minimum 4 GB RAM. For SonarQube server, it needs 4 GB RAM, minimum 4 GB RAM. In this case, 16 GB is not at all sufficient for us. I need to go for more than 16 GB, 32 GB. But what is the advantage here? Whatever resources you allocated for this VM, these resources are going to use only when the VM is up and running. Assume that 4 GB is allocated for this VM. Tomorrow this VM is down. I'm not using this VM. This 4 GB I can allocate for another virtual machine. The resources are being used only when the server is up and running. If I shut down it, all these resources are free. These resources I can use for another virtual machine. That is the advantage of VMware. So simultaneously we can run multiple operating systems in the same laptop on a single machine. And there is no wastage of your hardware resources. And all these VMs are isolated. All the VMs are isolated. Means what? When I'm working on this VM, I don't know what install in this VM. Why I named here Marvin, Tomcat, Jenkins. Otherwise, I don't know what applications is deployed here. I don't know what database running here. That is called isolated. Okay. So if you're on the one virtual machine, you feel that this is your laptop. This VM is your laptop. Okay. So there is the advantage of VMware Workstation. Physically only one server, one laptop, where I can install multiple OS in a single laptop, and I can work simultaneously in all the operating systems. Whichever I don't require, I can shut down that VM. We can power on, we can power off your virtual machine. Everything is under your control. Come to the server, VMware server. So generally, all the companies, they're going to use only VMware server, not the workstation. Workstation only for laptop or desktops. So this is my server. What is the difference between workstation and server? Why it is called as a server? Server means what? This server I purchase with 2 lakhs, 4 lakhs, 10 lakhs. There are some servers with 1 CR, 2 CR also. All these are higher-end hardware. Yes, not both. All these VMs we can work simultaneously. If you have sufficient RAM, suppose assume that for all these VMs I given the 4 GB RAM. What is my laptop RAM? 16 GB. So 4 plus 4 plus 8 plus total 4. 4 VMs I can on, but I can't on the 5 VMs because my laptop RAM is only 16 GB. The number of virtual machines, how many VMs I can create, that based on your RAM and processor. We don't require dedicated CPU to create a virtual machine. One CPU is more than enough. That means what? For every VM, 1 by 10. 1 by 10 means what? For every VM, it is going to allocate 0.5 CPU. Every VM, 0.5 CPU is going to allocate. That is the advantage. So we are talking about server. Server means what? Higher-end server. So this server having like 32 GB RAM, 64 GB RAM, 128 GB RAM. There are some server 1 TB RAM, 4 TB RAM, 8 TB RAM also. And processors are 32 CPUs, 64 CPUs, 92 CPUs. I'll show you the servers in AWS. I can take the server from AWS. This is called as a server. Workstation always only 1 CPU. Laptop, desktops always only 1 CPU. Maybe you can add 30 GB RAM, but processor only 1. When I say server, more than 1 processor. You cannot purchase a laptop with 1 TB RAM, but I can purchase a server with 1 TB RAM, 2 TB RAM, 4 TB RAM. This is called server. So you have a hardware. On top of this, I install the VMware server operating system. What is that? SXI. What is this called? Basically, it's a kernel. What do you mean by kernel? Kernel is nothing but operating system. Kernel, operating system, both are same. In your mobile, you have a Android installed. What is Android? It's an operating system, also a kernel. iOS. What iOS stands? iPhone operating system, also a kernel. Operating system, kernel, both are same. In your mobile, go to about phone. When you go to about phone, you can see the kernel version. Android version, iOS version. The kernel, operating system both are same. So what I'm telling that VMware has its own kernel. VMware has its own kernel. Directly we can install on the top of the hardware. We don't need to go for Windows or Linux. Even Windows has a kernel, Linux has a kernel. So without installing Windows or Linux, I can directly install the VMware kernel on top of the hardware. On top of this, I'm going to create virtual machines. Guys, this is very important, VMware, to understand what is AWS. Whatever servers we are launching in VMware, in our AWS cloud, all are virtual servers. We'll always work on virtual servers. Like this, we can create n number of virtual machines. Can anyone tell the difference between VMware workstation and VMware server? Here also we create a virtual machines. Here also we create the virtual machine. So what is the difference? Anyone? No. Here also in VM, I install the server operating system, Windows 2012, Windows 2016. So users always log into this VM, not my laptop. They never log into my laptop. My laptop is a single user. They always log into the VM. VM is server. If I provide this VMware server IP address, assume that this is Windows 2012, 2016, 2019. It's a server operating system. I am going to give this VM virtual machine IP address. With this IP address, they can connect to my VM. They can work on VM. So don't think that it's a client. All these are server. Then what is the difference?
It doesn't require any other operating systems. Like here we have the Windows operating system, but like what you mentioned here is hardware. On top of that, we have the ESXi kernel operating system.
Yes. Here VMware is not an operating system. It's an application. Application required operating system. Here installing like Google Chrome is another application. You download this VMware software and install it. That is called application. Applications require operating system. You can't install directly this VMware workstation on top of the hardware. It needs an operating system, either Linux or Windows. And these VMs, whatever we created, virtual machine, this VM cannot directly interact with the operating system. It always interact with the VMware interact with the operating system interact with the hardware. So your VMs cannot directly interact with your physical hardware. It interacts only with Windows operating system. Tomorrow, as I told you that the advantage of this VMware, I told you that assume that this Tomcat is application server. Because of lack of memory, 4 GB whatever I allocated, it is not sufficient for that. Because of lack of memory, the application not performing well. I want to increase my RAM. I want to increase my RAM. How to increase? Here we have edit virtual machine option. Here we have a memory. You want to increase 4 GB to 8 GB. Now what is the RAM here? 8 GB. It is not possible when this VM is up and running. I have to shut down it, add the memory. I want to add more CPUs. 2 more CPUs. I have to shut down it, add the processor. You want to add the storage. Hard disk is the storage. Shut down it, add the storage. What I mean to say, you can't add any resources when the server is VM is up and running. You have to shut down it, add or remove the resources. Assume that I allocate 8 GB RAM. After 1 month, total 8 GB is not using, only 4 GB is using. So why should I dedicate another 4 GB for this? I want to remove this 2 GB from or 4 GB from this. That 4 GB I want to allocate to another virtual machine. But I have to shut down it, make it 4 GB, from 8 GB to 4 GB, shut down it. Then that 4 GB add to this Marvin. So finally, what I mean to say, any resources add or remove, we can't able to do that when the servers or VMs are up and running. But that is possible in ESXi kernel. It is going to run directly on the top of the hardware. It doesn't require any operating system. It is not an application, it's an operating system. So this is called as a bare metal. Bare metal means what? Which runs directly on top of your hardware. So all the cloud service providers, they are going to use this bare metal. They have a physical infrastructure, physical service. Directly they are going to install this VMware kernel operating system. On top of that, we are going to create a virtual machine. So this VM virtual machines, in AWS, we call it as instance. What's the meaning of instance? Nothing but a VM. Instance both, VM both are same. In Azure Cloud, we call it as VM, virtual machine. In GCP Cloud, we call it as VM, virtual machine. So virtual machine or instance both are same. Once I start AWS, every day we'll talk about instances. So don't think that instance is different. Instance, virtual machine, both are same. So all these are instances. We are going to launch instances. We are going to create the instances. We are going to terminate the instances. We are going to shut down the instances. We are going to stop the instances. Nothing but VMs. So no more physical. Everything is a virtual. So the advantage of this VMware ESXi kernel, any resources we can add or remove on running server without shutting down. That is called hot add. Hot add means what? When the server is up and running, we can increase the memory, processor, whichever you want. Hot add, hot reduce. On running server, we can decrease our hardware resources. On running server, we can add your hardware resources. That is about virtual servers. So this is your physical hardware. You have a storage, network, servers, storages, everything. On top of that, virtualization software. On top of that, you are going to create a virtual machines. One more difference here.
Sir, what is the difference between hot and that switching off that server that you have told? So not clear actually.
Generally, if you are a data backup admin or database admin or backup admin, as a backup admin, we always take the hot backups. There are two types of backups, hot backups and cold backups. Hot backups and cold backups. Hot backups means what? When server is up and running, applications are up and running, when logins are active. At that time, we are going to take the backup. That is called hot backups. Without stopping the service, without disconnecting the users. When applications are up and running, users are logged in, working on my server, then we are going to take the backup. That is called hot backup. Cold backup means what? Disconnect all the logged in users. Whoever logged in, ask them to log off. And whatever applications are running, you have to shut down all the applications, stop all the services, and bring the server to the maintenance mode. In Microsoft, we have a concept called safe mode. Safe mode, nothing but maintenance mode. Bring the server to the safe mode. As long as server in safe mode, no one can log into a server. No applications will be run here. As long as in safe mode. When you're trying to reboot your laptop, not laptop like your mobile, there are two options. We can see the option called safe mode. When you boot your mobile to the safe mode, network doesn't work. No one will call to you and you can't call to anyone because that is called safe mode. Safe mode, we call it as a maintenance mode. In the real time, Windows administrators, Linux administrators, for every 3 months, 6 months, we are going to install the patches. There are three types of patches: firmware patch, application patch, operating system patch. Application patches we never shut down. Application patches are always installed on when the server is up and running. That is called hot. When applications are up and running, users are logged in. Whereas soft operating system patches, firmware patches, we can't install the patches, software patches, when the server is up and running, when logins are active. I have to bring my server to the maintenance mode. Disconnect all the logged in users, stop all the services. Then bring the server to maintenance mode. Then we are going to install the patches. That is called server maintenance. So this is called as a cold. When the server is maintenance mode, or when I'm taking the backup in safe mode, maintenance mode, then we call it as a cold backups. No one is logged in, no applications are running here. Windows we call it a safe mode, Unix we call single user mode. In single user mode, no one can log into a server. You can take complete data backup. That is called as a cold backups. Cold backup means what? No applications are running, no one is logged in maintenance mode. Similarly, hard add means what? I told you that earlier in VMware workstation, tomorrow I want to increase this RAM or reduce the RAM. When the VM is up and running, it won't allow you to increase or decrease the RAM. Power off it, shut down it, then increase or decrease. This is called as a cold because my VM is not running. Hot means what? When the VM is up and running. Any resources we can add or remove when the VM is up and running. That is called hot add. It is possible only in the VMware server, not possible in workstation.
Got it, sir. Thanks.
Okay. So one more drawback of physical server. I have a physical server of 128 GB RAM, 32 CPUs. On top of that, I install operating system Windows or Linux. On top of that, I install the Java, and after that, I install the Tomcat. Tomcat is application server. Tomcat is application server which needs a software called Java. Without Java, Tomcat cannot be installed. On top of that, I deploy my application. Assume that tomorrow I want to deploy one more application on the same physical server. Why? Because I have 32 CPUs, 128 GB RAM. This Tomcat server not using 32 CPUs, max only one CPU. Wastage of my hardware resources. On the same physical server, I want to deploy one more application. But that application required not Tomcat, that application required a JBoss. In a single server, I can configure Tomcat JBoss both applications on same server. But the problem is Tomcat required Java 1.8 version, JBoss required Java 11 version. Tomcat required Java 1.8, JBoss required 11 version. Can I install more than one Java version on the same server, same operating system? Already have 1.8. If I install Java 11, it is going to overwrite it. For example, for instance, you have operating system Windows. If I install Linux again, it is going to overwrite it. It is going to corrupt Windows operating system, install Linux operating system. In a single disk, we can't install more than one. That's why I'm going for traditional virtualization, right? Why should I go for traditional virtualization? In a single disk, we can't install more than one. Already have Windows in my laptop. If I install Linux, it's going to overwrite it. That's why we make two physical partitions, one for Windows, one for Linux. Similarly, already we have Java installed 1.8. If I install Java 11, it is going to overwrite it. When Java is updated 1.8 to 11, Tomcat doesn't work. These are the challenges, problems with physical server. But what is the advantage here? Here I set up a Tomcat application server with Java 1.8. I set up a JBoss application server, Java 11. I install WebLogic application server with a different Java version. All these VMs are isolated. But here, no isolation. They are the challenges, disadvantages of physical server. That's why computers are using virtualization software. So virtualization is a game changer in software industry and very big revolution in a software industry. No more physical servers. You work as Windows administrator, means you are working on virtual machine. You are Linux administrator, working on virtual machine. Cloud admin, working on virtual machine. So no more physical, everything is a virtual. Any questions?
Clear, sir.
Right. Okay. Can you guys tomorrow come at 7 o'clock? Tomorrow we are going to start with discuss regions, availability zones. Can you guys 7 o'clock tomorrow? 7 to 8, 8 to 9.
So 8 to 9 is comfortable for me.
I'm sorry?
8 to 9 is comfortable. Actually, I have another class of Python that begins at 7.
So 8 to 9 is comfortable.
Yes, sir.
No
8 to 9.
tomorrow. Okay, no problem. Tomorrow we'll discuss this regions, availability zones, tomorrow class. Any questions for today? No, right?
No. Thank you.
Okay, please register. If not registered, please register for tomorrow class. We'll continue this from tomorrow.
Sir, today is the first class or it's
Today is the second class.
second class? Okay.
But still, we did not start AWS. Just the basic things we are discussing.
Sure. Okay.
The first class demo availability, that video will be available to you. They'll send the video. Today is the second class.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.